LinkedIn is the leading B2B business platform. And if you're a B2B professional, you're probably trying to use it to do business development. And maybe you're not having that much luck. Hey, look, the secret is in your profile. You've got to get that dialed in and optimized. So I'm excited. I'm speaking with my partner, Brian, in this podcast. You need to listen. He's doing some amazing things that nobody else is doing to optimize LinkedIn profiles to get you the reach, the searchability, and the leads that you've been looking for. Hey, welcome everybody to the Revolutionize Your Marketing, Your Business, Your Life. And I'm super excited to be talking with my partner, Brian, with my target client, because him and I have been doing some really fun things on LinkedIn. He is a LinkedIn maven, genius, call it what you want. But he is really good and he gets stuff done for people. So Brian, really quickly, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. As you mentioned, LinkedIn is my forte. My background actually is in sales. I started in professional sales probably 25 years ago. But what happened was when LinkedIn came out, I found this new shiny tool. I was actually reading an article on Southwest. It was one of the top companies in 2006 to follow. And they said LinkedIn, and we didn't even know what social media was at that point, right? So it was just kind of the beginning stages. So when I get off this plane, I'm going to investigate this company. So I created an account, right? And then I started noticing things about the platform. I said, this is really interesting. You can really get some quality research prior to your clients. So before, as salespeople, we used to drive around and try to go into offices and do that. I said, geez, that's a lot of spinning my wheels. What if I actually had a list of people that I knew I could connect with and I could start, saving time by doing my research ahead of time. So that's how I started using LinkedIn. And then go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's great, and I want to repoint out that you started in sales, so your perspective and how you approach LinkedIn is very much about sales and driving leads and opportunities for businesses.
Exactly. And that's where people get the myths about the platform. It's for someone who does outbound B2B business development and is looking to generate more opportunities and create relationships. It's the perfect platform where people look at it as they have to do something to maintain it or they have to post content. All those things are great, but there's a difference between marketing and sales, right? When you're doing sales, you have to build a pipeline and your lead list and whatnot. So LinkedIn is perfect for that, but a lot of people get overwhelmed because there's a lot of bells and whistles on the platform. So I try to give people real blinders on how much time they should spend, what they should actually be focusing on, what really matters at the end of the day based on their goal. So if you're an influencer, great, you can grow your following, your pages. But if you want to actually see results in business, development, new contracts, you have to be on there every day to pay attention.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's a really good point. And I think especially, I mostly work with B2B professional services, and with us partnering, I've got to see what you can do for my clients. Really taking what I've been doing where I'm working on their messaging, their branding, helping them tell the story better of who they are and what they do. And then you're really taking that to the next level. It's, you're right. LinkedIn's overwhelming, but I love that you're focusing on it. Again, I think it's really important for B2B professional service providers and professionals themselves. What would you say is kind of the top reason if you're talking with a client to say, hey, this is why you need to invest the time and really start to learn about LinkedIn?
I think it's all about, when at the end of the day, my baseline strategy is how to win friends and influence people. So if you're a fan of Dale Carnegie and you've taken it to the digital age, that's really still, in my opinion, the best way to do business, which means research your client, get to see something that you may have in common, because it's not a one size fits all. If you have this canned presentation, doesn't always resonate with every single person. But if you can find something about that individual that you can really key in on and see, hey, this might be a fit because I saw from your profile that you're interested in X, Y, Z. And I don't consider it, people like, well, that seems like you're stalking. Well, if you're not researching the company or the person before you get on a sales call, you're working in reverse because you're not getting a sense of the person. And that's who makes the decision in buying from you. It can be the greatest product in the world, but the salesperson is still sticking to the about them versus about you. and they're not creating a bridge to have conversations. So that's my usually how I position it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I love that because you're right. It really is about relationships. And, I think, sales BD 101 is you research your client, you research your prospect. The normal avenue was go to their website, but now you can get so much more insight if you go to a LinkedIn profile, if they've done a good job, right?
Right. And even if they haven't, you have to remember that probably 80% of people wrote their own profile. So they're
Yeah.
actually speaking in their language, not, people do hire me to do that for them. But at the same time, generally speaking, people kind of put a few details in and they think because it's a business platform, they're not giving away a lot of information. There's actually more information about people personally than there is on Facebook sometimes if you actually know how to read and pay attention to the signs. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
That's such a good point. I'm always amazed when we start a LinkedIn project together, or I'm working with a client before I bring you in. Even simple things like people have their personal email on their LinkedIn profile, or they'll have company that worked at 2 years ago and not their recent company. How do you, when you sit down with a client to start optimizing their profile, where do you start? Like, what's the first few things that they need to be looking at and you help them with?
Well, it's really a matter of one is what is their goal on LinkedIn? Is it more clients? Is it more strategic partners? Is really so I really want to find the goal. And the first thing I want to know is how big is their network already? Because what people don't realize is that even if you have 500 or less contacts, your second degree network could be 800,000 connections. So people fall into this trap where they start connecting all day. They keep growing their network. But what they haven't done is say, who's actually in my network right now before I go out and get people that I don't know. So at the end of the day, if you and I are connected at some point in that transaction, we both thought it was a good idea to get connected on LinkedIn. And I can't
Right.
remember who it was, right? And not in this case, but in general speaking, someone said, "Oh, I want to connect with that person," and guess what? They get accepted. There's no follow up. They just go into your connections, and after a few months, you're like, "How do I know this person?" Right?
Yeah.
So there's that, right? But if you go
Yeah.
back to your network and say, Reb, I was going through my network. I decided I'm going to take LinkedIn more seriously in 2024. I noticed you and I connected in April of 2018, and I can't remember who reached out to who, but nonetheless, we thought it was a good idea. Having reviewed your profile, I see a lot of similarities in our work, and I thought we could collaborate. Would you be open to a call? So these are people we've already connected to. We just haven't really got to know
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. And for our viewers, just rewind that section and copy exactly what Brian said and start reaching out. I think that's such great advice. One of the things I've seen is this proliferation of people sending really not smart outreaches that are unpersonal, that are just dive right into, I'm trying to sell you something. And it's a real turnoff. Maybe talk about some of the do's and don'ts that people should be doing on LinkedIn.
Well, there's a lot of don'ts, right? And we probably don't have
Yeah.
time for the don'ts, but the do's are keep it short and sweet, right? Why am I reaching out? I'm not here to sell you. The first thing is I can't talk to you about business unless I'm connected to you. So don't run the risk of them not accepting your connection request because you pitched in the connection request. That's the follow up. Thanks for connecting. The reason I reached out was right, but the
Yep.
initial reach out to get connected is I'm expanding my network in the XYZ industry. Would love to have you part of my community. Period. I'm expanding my alumni network in Las Vegas. Would love to connect and see how I can, how we can collaborate. Or loved your article on such and such. Would love to connect. I joined your group. I saw you were the group owner. Would love to connect. So it's always would like to connect or thanks in advance for connecting. And so short and sweet. But if you go long narrative on those connection requests, people are going to go, you're better off not sending a connection request at all and let them land on your profile and have them make the decision. At least it's 50-50. But if you start selling right out of the gate, chances are you're going to hit ignore. And people don't know this, but if you hit ignore and then there's another button that says, I don't know this person, perhaps you've seen that. If you get
Yeah.
if you get three I don't knows on LinkedIn, you're going in LinkedIn lockup. You might lose your
Oh, good. I didn't know
so
that though.
I've read the user agreement. I've been on the platform. I mean, it's kind of like when you're eating cereal, you start reading the box, right? And like I didn't know it had that in there, right? So I started doing more than the average person and digging into what the user agreement actually states, right? And I try to keep to that. Same thing with automation, right? There's a lot of people out there. If you look at their contracts and you want the quick fix, it'll say, please note, by using this service for automation, it actually could put your user agreement in jeopardy and you might lose your LinkedIn account.
Yep.
So
Wow.
why risk it? I keep it
Yeah.
really, but people want those numbers, but they already have the numbers. They don't realize they could actually get introductions on the platform. So there's a lot of nuances to that. So that's one of the first don'ts. And then the second
Yeah.
don't is please don't send me a link to your calendar when you haven't even gone out to really learn about me. So a lot of times I'll hear people say, here's my white paper on this. Here's my calendar link. Are you interested? Let's grab a 15-minute call. No, I'm not grabbing a 15-minute call. And sometimes I'll come back and say, well, I guess it's my turn then. So thanks for learning about you. Now here's me. And I'll fire back and say, here's what I do. And usually it goes nowhere. Right. But it's just,
Right.
I'm letting them know, hey, if you approach me a little bit more personally, there might be a better chance, but they're looking at the numbers. They're not really looking at building relationships. So, and I'm with you. I work with mostly in the service-based business for professionals. So I'm not really, those people aren't selling a product. And if you're working with a CPA, you want to trust your real estate agent, your CPA, your attorney, right? So you want to get to know them a little bit more. So
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's maybe a bit of a product of some of these automation tools where, people, they bulk or mass, send out messages and they think that they're doing a good job, but they're, I don't know. Like I think that you used to work at one time. It's definitely not working now. I know that for sure.
it's always going to work. Like the numbers never lie, right? If you're doing a massive amount of volume, there'll be that percentage of people that say, yes, I'm interested, but you're going to get a lot more no's and you're going to alienate people on the platform from that too. Cause no one wants to be pitched right out of the gate. Right. But
Yeah.
if they're not attached to that, then, some people are going to tell you, oh, I've been very successful with that. But what are the case studies? I just like to play it safe and do business the way I like to, which is actually get to know them and find the right people to help refer you into
Yeah.
companies, right?
Yeah, I agree. So, Brian, maybe tell us a little about the metrics. How do people know if their profile is doing well or better? Like, what metrics should they be paying attention to?
You want to look at your notifications because it's going to show you how many searches you're showing up in, right? That's
Okay.
one indicator, and how many profile views are you getting, right? So that's
Okay.
those are really the only two that I've seen that are going to measure. But I pay more attention to the searches I'm showing up. Profile views are great, but the searches are going to tell me what industry I'm kind of indexed with on LinkedIn. So if you're not showing up in enough searches, it means you're not having the right keywords in your profile to get found, right? So,
Oh,
and again, with 22 sections of the profile, if you only have 3 sections filled out, you're missing, you know, 17 plus opportunities to add keywords into your profile. So that's the main thing. So if you're not seeing that number go up after your profile is optimized, it means we have the wrong words or the wrong industry index, because you have to associate when you start your profile what industry you're in, and they only give you
right.
not every industry is indexed. So um,
Right.
you have to be creative with that, and plus having a good headline is going to help you get found with that. Obviously your background image and things like that. So everything at the top is what matters the most in being
Got
found,
it.
right? So your about
Okay.
section, your headline, and your banner in the background. Those are the top
Yeah.
3 things, right? Everything else is gravy below that because
Got
people are
it.
going to scroll through. But all they're really asking themselves, and again, I'm not saying this is the way, but they're most people predictable in the human behavior on LinkedIn is that, am I safe connecting this with this person? Is there enough here that I trust that this person is not going to sell me, and that they would be a valued member of my network? And then you hit
Right.
accept, right? But if you're not hitting those points, chances are people like, I'm going to hit ignore because I'm getting spammed too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. And I wish we had more time to dive in when you talked about the different sections, maybe at a high level. you talk about the banner, your headline, your image, your about section. Those are kind of key because people look at that and then the rest is gravy. What are those other sections that are important that people should not be ignoring?
Well, even as simple as adding your high school, right? People will put,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
because when people are doing searches, there might be a CEO that went to your high school, even though they were 10 years, behind you, but you have the alma mater, right? Especially if it's from a small town, right?
Yep.
You can start using those leverage points to reach out to them, right? So if we're both, go Eagles or something, right? We can connect. But I'm more inclined to, if I have a random invitation, but I see we went to the same college, I'm just going to accept it because there's a trust there.
Yeah.
Or former, or if it's you're a military veteran, right, and you start reaching out to other veterans, there's a high probability that they'll accept your connection request. So experience a section, obviously, but the simple answer is everything counts when it comes to LinkedIn. So a lot of us think, oh, that's not important. Well, it might not have important, but it could be important to somebody else, right? So
Yeah.
if you want a blue ribbon at the Del Mar Fair for your pumpkin pie, put it on LinkedIn, right? So everything even doesn't have to be. You can blend the professional and the personal onto LinkedIn, and actually people can get a sense of who you are. If you're a marathon runner, you're a
Yep.
finisher. Those are honors and awards. So there's a lot of things you
Yeah.
can enhance, but we're only thinking in a professional term, like what are our professional certs, what are organizations, but you may have other organizations that are, you're a member of, your local country club or things like
Yeah.
that. People, if they see those things, they're more, it starts conversations at least, right?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. As we're going into ski season, that's one of the things that I connect with a lot of people on skiing or, snow sports and winter sports. A quick question. We
Sure.
have never talked about this. Do you think it's valuable in that personal profile picture? I've seen people have a picture with their dog or a surfboard. Do you think is that valuable?
Yeah, I think that it's more personal, right? So because I've always had this theory about people on LinkedIn, they want to be Clark Kent Superman, right? So
Right.
here's my Facebook profile, right, with the
Uh-huh.
hat on and the surfing. Now here's my LinkedIn, and I have this suit and tie, and I'm all professional, right? So with this day, since the pandemic, and we all started working from home, we've kind of gone down on our appearance, and when it comes to the professional appearance now. So some people literally will show up with a hat on if they're CS. So I say be yourself, because you're not going to be able to please everybody, but there's 950 million people on LinkedIn that aren't going to care what your picture looks like, right?
Good point.
And the dog might be the kicker, because of oh my god, I'm a dog lover too, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fit. Here's what I would say to that: is try it out. If
Okay.
it's not working, give it an A/B test. Here, I'm going to do 1 month with this picture, and I'll do another month in this picture, and
Yeah.
just give it time to see what people respond to.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a great tip. My tip is for the banner. Tell people you can switch out your banner. If you have an offer that you're offering at a certain time of the year or a new course, I think that people get stuck and they just leave it, for all times. And I'm like, no, play with your banner, put different offers up. Same with your headline. If you are doing something new or different, you don't have to stick with what the same headline is as well, and you can play with that. I personally have changed mine like 5 times over the last 2 months, more on just trying to figure out the right fit. But yeah, I like that. Try it, test it, and see where some of the numbers land. One last question for you. How much time per day should a professional, if they want to be successful on LinkedIn, be spending on LinkedIn?
I think you can keep it to under 20 minutes if you go in with a focus and just get in what you need to do. But it is definitely a daily habit, because things are happening in real time, literally in the millisecond, right? People are posting things like that. So you don't want to get trapped in the scrolling aspect, but you just want to go in with your numbers and say, I'm going to connect with this many people, check my messages, check my notifications, like and comment. I'm in and I'm out. That's it.
Yep.
But what I found is that you actually stay longer, because you're actually sorting relevant opportunities that are happening in the very moment. So
Yeah.
real
No,
time.
Yeah. And it's true. And I see that when I go in and start commenting and liking, my activity engagement goes up overall on my profile. I can see it in the analytics. So yeah, 20 minutes I think is very reasonable. I try to do it in the morning. That's when I schedule my BD stuff. But I think at any time in the day, as long as you're getting in there regularly,
Yeah,
great.
you check it twice a day, once in the morning, once before you close out your day, and you'll have your thumb on the industry for sure.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I love this topic. I know you and I could go on and on forever. Maybe we'll have to do another podcast. We've talked about maybe doing our own LinkedIn Live. But really quick, you have an offer for my audience. What is it?
Well, the offer would be is we would do a profile review. So if you're getting ready, and most of us are at the beginning of the year, LinkedIn always comes up. I'm happy to do a profile review, spend 15 minutes with you, and just give you some pointers. So we can look at that, and then you can take it from there. But just really want to educate you on how you're showing up, because we have 0.05 seconds to make an impression right now. So
Yep.
if you're considered using LinkedIn, first off, connect with me on LinkedIn, right? And
Yep.
then say, hey, I saw you on the podcast. I would love to do a 15-minute review of my profile. I'd be happy to help.
Great. I love it. Well, we will to put a link to your LinkedIn profile and put the offer in the show notes. And anybody who's even if you're thinking about LinkedIn, Brian, definitely reach out to him. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's helped me so much with my own profile, our clients. I absolutely think 15 minutes is totally worth it to get all the insights that Brian has. He will overload you, and then you are going to mind explode, but you're going to definitely take away some good stuff and hopefully engage him, because then you can really take your profile to the next level. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thanks so much, Brian. And to my listeners, thank you. If you want to revolutionize your marketing, contact me, 858-848-7325. We'd love to talk to you about your messaging, it's so applicable to your LinkedIn profile. And then Brian takes it to the next level. And yeah, we would love to help you revolutionize. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Rem. Take care.